And we are live with another episode of Comic Talk. It's that show brought to you by The Keeg, where we talk about this week's new comic book releases. For those of you who don't know, new DC comics come out every Tuesdays. New Marvel Indie comics come out on Wednesdays. And we're here on a Thursday, the final Thursday of this great year, 2023. That could be sarcastic or not, depending on how your year was. But we are here December 28th, 2023, to talk about everything that came out this week. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera. And I also got frequent guest of the show, Drew Maxey, a.k.a. Drew Deficit. You can find him at Drew X Deficit. What's up, Drew?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just been hanging around.
Yeah. That'd be like a really funny joke if you were like a monkey, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I was just like...
Just hanging around.
If I like Spider-Man from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Just hanging around.
Just hanging around, you know? I guess a Spider-Man is more apropos than a monkey. But then again, comic books have everything, you know?
Yeah.
I'm glad to have you on this episode.
Who's your favorite monkey character?
Ooh. I'll tell you who I don't like. I don't like the... Marvel apes. Not a big fan of those designs.
Those are apes. They're not monkeys.
Those are apes. Monkeys have tails. Yeah, you're right. So
I can only think of one monkey character,
which is
Monkey Prince at DC.
Oh, Gorilla Grodd.
Or he's ape.
Okay, so we are differentiating.
I'm differentiating because I believe in science.
Okay, because Detective Chimp is not a monkey then
chimpanzee. Yeah, he's an ape.
So then the only person is Monkey Prince, because we get a lot of gorillas. There's a lot of gorillas in comic books.
Yeah,
like that was a whole trend for a while.
Do you know why that is? There's a literal reason for it.
More comics if you put a gorilla
on the cover. Yeah. It's like an old I think it was Julius Schwartz at DC who like discovered that trend and just he would start doing it even if there were no gorillas in the comic. Just put them on the cover.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about like just primates in general, there are a lot of DC because I feel like it's a big golden age thing, right?
Yeah.
So there's Titano from Superman. There's Beppo the Super Monkey. There's Detective Chimp. There's Gorilla Grodd. A whole gorilla city. There's Monkey Prince.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So
and then you got like characters who are like ape related, like Beast Boy can turn into, and then you got like Animal Man who can get the powers of one.
Right. So animals do come up a lot when it comes to that, shout out to Carson out there on our Twitch chat. If you're watching us live, you can watch us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show, or maybe you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. But Carson is out there in our Twitch chat saying ampersand from Why the Last Man.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I mean, that's a literal, like a pure monkey.
Yeah.
Nothing more to him other than that.
Yeah. I was thinking more like superhero characters, but yeah, I mean, if we're talking all of comics.
Right. And then do alien monkeys count? Because the Wonder Twins have whatever his name, Gleek, right? Is his name Gleek?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
And then there's like someone like Beast from X-Men. He's not a monkey per se, but he is supposed to be ape-like.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Where's the line? And I mean, truth be told, humans are apes also.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're opening the door to apes, then most of the characters,
anybody who is part of the human evolution chain.
Yeah. Anyone who's a primate is there. So I don't know, just things to think about. Carson says Hitmonkey.
Oh yeah, Hitmonkey's there. Yeah.
Hitmonkey's new, right? Like Hitmonkey, I feel like was a relatively new character.
Yeah, like
created just for the series, like that cartoon series, and then they moved him into the comics.
No, he came in the comics first.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I'm not really interested in Hitmonkey.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah. It's the final week of the year, so final week for DC Comics and Marvel Comics. It would be really confusing if we had if January 1st was, on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and split the week, when it comes to comics. But luckily it didn't. So we're here to talk about like DC Comics, Marvel Comics, Indie Comics, whatever we read this week. Now, obviously, to the people out there, there are more comics that came out this week than Drew and I read, obviously, right? But we're going to talk about the ones that we did read, and that's the best we can do. There's so many comics out there. Check out comicshoplocator.com to find a comic shop near you. Drew, what were the books that you read this week?
Let's see. I don't have them in front of me right now, so I'm gonna do this off memory.
Yeah.
I read Action Comics 2023 Annual.
Mm-hmm.
I read Green Arrow #7.
Mm-hmm.
I read Alan Scott Green Lantern #3.
Mm-hmm.
I read Flash #4.
Mm-hmm.
I read Holy Roller #2.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's one I'm forgetting.
Detective Comics 1080.
Detective Comics 1080. That is it. Yep.
There we go. Okay. All right. That's that is a good strong 5, 6.
That's 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. It's funny because like all of us, we all hold ourselves to a high standard, and it's like, I mean, majority of people out there don't read any comics any week, so we're beating them, no matter what. I read some of the ones that you read, which is cool because I'm really looking forward to the overlap this week.
Sure.
I also read Flash 4. I also read Green Arrow 7. I read Alan Scott Green Lantern 3. I read Action Comics Annual 2023. And then Drew, you didn't read any Marvel comics this week.
I don't think I picked up any.
That's fair. I read a good amount of Marvel too. Immortal X-Men 18, Miles Morales Spider-Man 14, X-Force 47. Also from DC, I read Titans #6 and Titans Beast World #3 and Justice Society 8. It was a busy week for me because I was not busy, and so I got to read a lot. Predator vs. Wolverine 4, the Sensational She-Hulk #3, the Timeless Annual from Marvel, because every year there's a new Timeless. So this is Timeless for 2023. Spider-Woman #2 and Deadly Hands of Kung Fu #1. And were there some others that I wanted to read? Yes, but those other books I'll read on the weekend.
Some of the DC ones that you mentioned, I picked up. I just haven't read them yet.
Yeah. I have to think about what my pick of the week is, and it's a little tough. It's a little tough. Do you know what your pick of the week is?
I do. I was kind of going back and forth about 2 of them, but I know what it is.
What's yours?
Mine is I'm going to say that it's more so because of the series as a whole so far, rather than just this specific issue. Yeah. Although I did really like this issue. It is Alan Scott Green Lantern.
Yeah. This one's been really strong.
It has been a really, really solid. It does what I like from superhero books, which is like tells a complete and coherent superhero story, but also like makes it about something bigger and uses that character as a way to kind of like make a point about whatever that issue is, you know, about whatever topic that is, you know. And I've been really, really enjoying it. It has been like the narration throughout it has been really good. The character's voice has been very solid.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that I just like I go nuts for when a writer can just like capture like, I don't necessarily care about, making sure that the character feels the same way that another person has written them, as long as this writer can put their, like, a distinct voice on the character that they're writing. And I think that this has happened with Tim Sheridan's writing of Alan Scott.
I was looking it up. Tim Sheridan.
Yeah, it is so good.
That is wild, because I was trying to look up what did Tim Sheridan write previous. And it's one of the worst, at least the one I disliked. He wrote Teen Titans Academy. And I hated Teen Titans Academy. That being said, I gotta put an asterisk on my hate. I don't think it's Tim Sheridan's fault, because there were things that I liked about that book, but the things that I didn't like seemed editorially mandated.
Yeah.
Just like, weirdly enough, who's on Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man right now? Is it Zeb?
Zeb Wells.
Okay. The hot take here is, I don't blame Zeb Wells for how bad it's been. I think it's editorially mandated certain plot points and when that issue had to be released.
You know what? I'll give you an even hotter take. It's not Spider-Man related, because I'm not a Spider-Man reader.
Yeah.
But I think, I'm not saying that I necessarily would make this argument, but I think you can make an argument that you can put almost all the blame on editorial most of the time, because they still have to clear the book. Right? And
you're saying if it's a bad writer, that editorial is at fault for letting a bad writer through?
If a person is putting bad ideas into a book and it's just not good, editorial is the last, like, that's what they're there for, is to make sure that, what goes into the book is going to be good and sells, and it's what people want.
It's an interesting, like, almost philosophical, like, breakdown.
I mean, it's like the same thing. If you go to a restaurant and you have a really bad experience, ultimately, doesn't it fall on whoever is running the shift that night to be responsible for making sure that experience didn't happen?
To an extent. I think that, like, you would say that, but their defense, let's just say, if they're playing defense on that, their defense isn't in that moment. Their defense was, like, when they hired the person, right? Like,
sure.
They gotta, hire the right people, train them correctly, as opposed to, like, just that night ending it. So I guess I could accept, like, your idea that, like, editorial is in charge.
Like I said, I'm not necessarily making that argument, but I think that somebody who really believed in that effectively could. Luckily, we don't have to have that argument right now, because this Green Lantern book is really so good.
It's really good.
Now, I will say,
that's why I'm like, for a writer who I didn't like his work previous.
It's.
I don't think it's his fault then. That must be it. It must not be his fault. I don't know.
It's also, I mean, we could also, I suppose you could also make the argument that all the good stuff is editorials.
No. Okay, so what I want to throw out there before we talk a little bit more about Green Lantern number 3 is that I don't know whether I can blame editorial for being the last line of defense, but I think that editorial oversteps, and the problem is when editorial is the first line of offense. You get what I mean? That's the problem.
There are books that you can tell only exist because, like, editorial goes, oh, we need this to tell this story, so let's go hire somebody to do that. Whereas this book in particular feels like it's very much like the creators driving it.
Right.
Like, with it, I mean, it deals very, very much with the fact that Alan Scott is gay.
Yes.
Tim Sheridan has been very open about being gay himself. So
I didn't know that. Okay.
It's very, like, it really feels like this is a project that is very personal to him.
Yeah.
And is like, I mean, like this is like a passion project for him. It's, I mean, and the way that it's using, it's not just like, oh, we got to make a, oh, it's a superhero story and also he's gay. Like,
Right.
his being gay is, I mean, it's not like there are most of this story you could tell without it being a gay person, but his experience as a gay man, especially at the age in which it takes place,
Yeah.
is so important to the story that it just adds that extra punch of like, this is what's making this story feel relevant and important. And it's, I mean, like, it does it in a way that's, that old saying that like, when you read something, it should be a door or a window and a mirror,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Like, so like, you should, it should reflect something back at you, but you should also get to see something you've never seen before.
Yeah.
Or something that you don't get to see usually. That's what I feel like this book is really exemplifying, because, like, when I read it, I see myself in the character. I see a guy who, I mean, the main plot is about him trying to figure out what happened to like these people who are experiencing something that he's seen before. Yeah. Right. It's almost like a detective story. He's trying to solve this
because it takes place in the past and the present, right?
And I believe it's all in the past.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's the past, and then there's the past, right?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It takes place in like World War II era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then there's, yeah. So, but well, I guess it's not World War II. It's because he's like,
it's post World War II because it's Cold War, right?
Yeah, it's Cold War because Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover is like a part of it,
And he's blackmailing Alan Scott.
Yeah, he's blackmailing him, trying to get him to
join the JSA, right?
Yeah, is it to join?
I think in the past it was for him to join the JSA.
Yeah. And so, but basically, like, kind of like, hey, we know about your life, right, and we'll leak that to people, right, which is like, that's a thing that really did happen. It's crazy, especially during the Red Scare.
Yeah.
But then, like, he's describing the window portion of this is that, like, me personally, I don't know what it's like to be a gay person.
Yeah.
And the way that he describes it is not like, it's not coming across as like super preachy or anything like that. It's just very organic and like, hey, this is what it would be like for this person. These are the kinds of things that they would face. There's like
going to Arkham, going to literally an asylum for being gay.
The second issue, like, he discovers that Arkham Asylum is doing electroshock therapy to try to, like, make people not be gay.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, it's just, it's such a good book. I really enjoy reading it, just because of how there's something about it. It's just that thing that you can't necessarily put into words that just separates it from other stories that I've read like that. It just feels, despite being about a guy who has a magical ring, it feels very real and it feels very authentic.
Yeah.
And you just don't get the fear a lot of times with somebody doing a book like this is that, like, it might feel exploitative. It might feel like it's, intentionally trying to manipulate your feelings and be like, like, oh, it's a superhero story, but you're going to feel things for it because it's a gay man,
Right.
And it's like, it doesn't come across that way at all. It just feels like it is totally necessary to tell that story.
Right.
It is a necessary part of this character's experience, and it's like a part of the writer's experience for sure.
Yeah. I do want to point out something about Tim Sheridan, is that he also co-wrote Flashpoint Beyond. So following here,
okay.
Jeff Johns lead wrote Flashpoint Beyond, right? Then writer Jeremy Adams and Tim Sheridan co-wrote it with him.
Gotcha.
Both of which went on to write New Golden Age. Well, all three of them went on to write New Golden Age. So at the end of Flashpoint Beyond number 6, they essentially set up Stargirl and the Lost Children, which then also sets up JSA.
Right.
And so JSA number 8 came out this week also. And so like or 7, whatever. The point being is that like that team up must have been to set up like Golden Age stories going forward.
And Jeremy Adams is on Flash, right?
He's on Jay Garrick Flash.
The Jay Garrick Flash, yeah.
Yeah. And then Jeff Johns is writing JSA, and he wrote Stargirl and Lost Children. So, which I've been loving. I've been loving this new Golden Age.
You know, I started picking it up and I just didn't stick with it.
Which one?
I started picking up the JSA. I started picking up
Stargirl?
the Stargirl book, which I believe is done now, but I mean, yeah. And I just I didn't stick with it, but I have been picking up, like, I've read Sandman. I've read this. I have all 3 issues of the Jay Garrick book, but I haven't read them yet.
I've been loving it.
Yeah.
I've fallen behind on Wesley Dodd's Sandman, but I've been loving the Jay Garrick one because I like Boom. I like the idea, and it's sad, but like the idea of Jay Garrick the Flash is that he's a man who's like a grandpa-aged man with a wife who's a grandma-aged woman, and their young daughter comes back from being lost in time.
Yeah.
So they have to raise a daughter at like whatever age they are.
Right.
And like, it's kind of sad. And like the world has passed her by, but then there's also like the fact that like she lost a lot of years with her parents, you know? It's just kind of sad.
Yeah, it's cool. I really like, I like that they're doing this Golden Age revival. I like that it doesn't feel gimmicky or forced or anything like that. This one, like I said, I haven't been reading The Flash, but I have been reading Sandman, that's a character I like a lot. But this Green Lantern has been the standout favorite for me. Yeah.
My pick of the week, I realized what my pick of the week is as I was talking about it. Is Justice Society of America number 8.
Cool.
I think that's a safe bet. There were a lot of good comics this week that are competing for my number 1, but I'm going to say JSA number 8. The introduction of this new character. So with Flashpoint Beyond, with Stargirl and the Lost Children, with the new Golden Age, it's set up that there are certain people through time, mostly in the past, that have been plucked out of time so people don't remember them and then they get reinserted. One of which is Alan Scott's nemesis, Red Lantern. A Red Lantern that is not Red Lantern Corps, just like Alan Scott is not Green Lantern Corps, but a Soviet-era Red Lantern, which we see in Alan Scott, Green Lantern number 3, right? In Justice Society of America number 8, his daughter comes in, and she has Red Lantern energy. But it's still Red Lantern, like World War II Red Lantern. Anyway, right. She's kind of like Jade, essentially, where Jade is Alan Scott's daughter. This one is the other guy's daughter. Yeah. And so there's that. But there's this ongoing storyline where Huntress, Helena Wayne Huntress, is stuck from a future that doesn't exist. She's in modern time. And she keeps telling the Justice Society that, like, she wants to get her Justice Society together. decades before, you know, kind of the future that she's from. And so she's trying to gather together. She's like, okay, they may be villains now, but they will be heroes. Can we like bring them on the team? And so like Icicle Jr., I think might be one, and like there's some other ones. And so this book, especially coming out this week with Alan Scott Green Lantern #3, it works really well with each other because they're both Alan Scott related.
Right.
Like Alan Scott pops up. He's not in the whole issue of this one, but like, you know, he does a good job. I don't know.
This is the question that I have about the like all these books. Do these take place in the same Earth as the regular DC continuity, just years before?
Justice Society is modern. It's current, it's current time.
Okay.
Alan Scott, Wesley Dodds, and Jay Garrick take place in this Earth in the Earth Zero is what it's called.
Right. Yeah.
Which I think that DC kind of painted themselves into a corner. Because like naming convention wise, because now it's Earth Zero is Earth Prime.
Right.
And then there's Earth 1, which is like the Earth 1 books that didn't go anywhere.
Right, yeah.
DC's branding. And then Earth 2 is that Earth 2 books that we saw in New 52.
Mm-hmm.
And then Earth 3 is the crime syndicate.
Crime Syndicate.
Earth.
Yeah.
And then so on and so forth. But like this one, it's like they're not Earth 1, they're Earth 0.
Right.
Earth Prime. It's weird. The point being is, it is the Earth that we know from the DC universe.
Yeah.
All these new Golden Age stuff. Yeah, there's time travel involved, sure, but it's still this Earth. But I love the Justice Society. There's something special about them.
I think so too. I agree.
I'm trying to think of like what superhero teams are like families, like X-Men, Doom Patrol, Justice Society of America, right? Like, they're very family oriented. And so, I don't know. I like that.
Right now, that's a big thing at DC right now, is the whole family thing. I mean, like Green Arrow really pushing it. Flash is really pushing it.
I love it. Superman, right?
Superman. In some regard, Batman is.
By pushing away his family. Like,
I
think he's going to come full circle. I think he's pushing them away to build they're going to put an emphasis on the Bat family.
For sure
because of it. Yeah. You know? But you're right. They are focusing a lot on family. Why do you think that is? Because I have my thoughts.
I think that it's more so just trying to create I guess this is the correct term, but and kind of an overarching brand that, you know, like when you think of the DC books, you are now thinking about family, right? And that's what they want to do for this era. I don't know how long it's going to last. You know, DC does kind of change up things pretty frequently. But I mean, you know, even like Wonder Woman right now is like, there is a familial aspect to it. It's not necessarily the, you know,
but I think Tom King's Wonder Woman has introduced a new Wonder Woman who's on the run, that killer one, and her daughter,
right? Yeah.
Trinity. So,
it's I think that it is really just kind of them going, you know, like they sat down, they had a big meeting, and they were just kind of like, what is the one thing that we can, you know, bring into our books that's going to, you know, and then people just went with, well, we have the Bat family, we've had the Flash family for years. Yeah. Why don't we just kind of like, you know,
on and off. The Flash family has been like lost in time, lost in the Speed Force, disappeared, come back, dead, alive again. Flash has been interesting. But like, so my thing is, when it comes to DC, for DC Comics, to me, everybody brings up the fact that like, oh, everybody's a god pretending to be human, and then Marvel's humans pretend to be gods, or some dumb thing like that. Because I think that's dumb. I think that's a super generalized thing that
Yeah,
doesn't apply anymore. It doesn't. Maybe it applied when Spider-Man was coming around, right? When he was first created. But I think DC as a whole is about legacy.
Mm-hmm.
But for legacy to exist, time has to exist, which is a
And you have to
problem
have,
with the New 52.
yeah,
The New 52 comes around and it's like time does not exist because everybody just started. And
right.
DC doesn't work that way. To me, it doesn't. Because
Yeah.
I wonder to myself, why should I care? All these books that I read, like, sure, I love DC, but every book in my mind, in my subconscious, why should I care?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah, I think that that's a question that you should ask yourself when consuming any kind of art.
Right. Why should I care? So try harder. You can't rope me in just because I love DC.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna watch all of it. Same with the MCU, right? I love the MCU, but tell me why I should care.
Yeah.
You know, like,
because if you don't care, and you're just like
consuming it to consume it,
you're just watching
yeah.
because you think that like, oh, I gotta watch this to get to the next thing, which I think a lot of people are doing with the MCU. I had to talk myself out of going to see Aquaman this week because I was just like, like I'm gonna go see it, but it's really just like to keep up with things. And then I kind of was just like, I don't think I'm gonna like this movie. Why am I gonna like pay money to go to it? And and it was just like, if you are doing that, it ceases to be art and then it just becomes a consumable.
Right.
And I'm not interested in letting companies make consumables for me.
Right. Do you have AMC A-list?
I have Movie Pass.
Okay.
So I can go to like any theater that accepts it, really.
Okay.
So it's like, it's not as bad.
Yeah.
But
I have AMC A-list. The way I would recommend it is if you want to watch it and you have Movie Pass or AMC A-list, go watch it. But if you don't, and it's going to take some money and time, let's just say, that you don't want to spend, watch it when it comes on streaming. It'll be fine, I liked watching it on the big screen, but I did not like the movie.
I get that.
I liked watching it on the big screen, and I can see it for free, and I got nothing else to do. Might as well go see it. I don't feel like it was a waste of time or money because I didn't waste any money.
Yeah.
So I mean that's my Aquaman 2 review for that. Marvel, so DC's about legacy. Marvel, I think, is about struggle. It's like the optimism of struggle. I don't think DC is about the struggle. I think DC is about the future, like the legacy, like the people you leave behind.
Yeah.
And so as long as both companies they don't have to stick to it in every series, but for the most part, like they do stick to it. What was I getting at with DC and legacy and why should I care? Where were we? We were talking about Justice Society and like that stuff and like, oh, also like it extends to like, why should I care about like these old heroes that are taking place in World War II? Like, why should I care? Tell me good stories. And they're telling me good stories in which I can care. Families. That's what it was. Just the familial thing. Mm-hmm. I think, you can't have families without time. Like that time, that legacy has to progress, and then you can have families. And Justice Society is dealing with it. You read The Flash, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Flash also deals with family. All these DC books, I think, are dealing with family because it also diversifies their cast by allowing a whole family to exist in one series.
Yeah.
Like in this issue alone, we get Jesse Quick coming back. We got Ironheart, or not Ironheart, Thunderheart, which is also a dumb name. Thunderheart's a really bad name. Do you agree?
I think it's
I think it's what a little girl would pick.
Yeah.
Right. So that's fair. It's in character. It's just,
I'll tell you, it's not as bad as Insomnia.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right. Insomnia, or
that's what we call a callback.
Yeah. For anyone who's watching all our episodes, Insomnia. That's a bad name. Oh, what did I argue? Insomnia was a. Did I argue that there was a worse name or a better name? I forget where I was.
You argued that it was fine.
It was fine.
And I argued that it sounds goofy when a character has to be like Batman being like, no, stop this insomnia. Like that just sounds weird.
Yeah.
Thunderheart, I think, is better than that.
Okay. All right. For those of you who don't know, Wally West's daughter goes by Thunderheart now. And I'm okay with it. I just think at a certain point it's gonna change. I didn't know she's 13. She's 13.
13, yeah.
It's either the artists don't know how to draw kids or like they just figured out she was 13.
Yeah. She's been like 8 years old on the page.
Right. Like my cousin is 13. So, well, both my cousins I think are 13. And so I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I will say this issue of The Flash, I don't know what's going on in it, but I liked it.
It is
because you're more of a Flash guy than I am.
Yeah.
So this garden that he's in, is that a thing that you've seen before?
It's new.
Okay.
So this is written by Cy Spurrier. Mm-hmm. By the way, I just found out that Cy is short for Simon.
Simon, yeah.
I didn't know. Does he go by Cy or Simon?
I think it used to be Simon, and then now it's Cy.
Okay. All right, cool.
Because I have seen like X-Men Legacy was credited to Simon Spurrier.
Oh, okay. On leagueofcomicgeeks.com, they credit him as Simon Spurrier. Yeah. So when you search for him, that's what pops up. Also, do you know Simon from Teen Titans, the bad guy?
No.
There's a bad guy named Simon, but it's PSIMON. And okay. He has like his brain is visible and he's psychic. He's on Young Justice and stuff like that. Anyway.
Yeah. I've probably seen him before, but just, yeah.
So what was I saying? I'm tired of DC coming up with more metaphysical planes of existence. They need to stop because somebody had broken it down elsewhere. They were like, okay, so we got the emotional spectrum for the Green Lanterns, but then we have like the Flash forces, Speed Force, Still Force, Sage Force, Strength Force. None of that makes sense. Like anyone strong is tapping into an extra dimensional energy called the Strength Force. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. But then you also have like what Grant Morrison has broken down to be whatever. But then we got the DC multiverse and we got the negative multiverse, which is the dark multiverse. So there's all these levels. And then, I mean, in these weird comics, sometimes like these characters meet their makers and like Animal Man will look through the page at the person reading and like, okay. So this is their idea of like breaking down that like outside of time and space, there is concept.
Yeah. Listen, you can do whatever you want as long as you have the Flash quite literally collecting his thoughts by holding, grabbing his bubbles, his speech bubbles out of the air and carrying them with him. I'm okay with that.
It was cool. It's just I don't have any idea what's going on, and I'm hoping that I will.
Yeah.
But also, and keep in mind that at the end of Flashpoint Beyond, they broke down how the DC multiverse works. With Hypertime, the Omniverse, the like space and time are treated differently. And now they're just adding this like realm of concept.
Yeah.
It's too much. And I mean, not to mention like the gods live in some other realm. And then like, there's like the orrery of gods. I don't know. But anyway, have you been liking this series?
I have been, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in it that I'm not quite getting. Like the layouts of a normal page, they like bleed out off of the page. like the panels like end, and then parts of the panels keep going
Yeah.
past the gutter.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's like a stylistic choice or if it's somehow like trying to be a narrative choice.
Okay.
And I can't figure it out. And I'm inclined to believe that it's a narrative choice, but I haven't figured out what it is yet.
I mean, it's the fact that they're outside the confines of reality.
But it happens in all kinds of, I mean, it happens on nearly every page, even when they're not outside the confines of reality.
Is it only Wally? Or
It's
other characters outside the borders too?
As far as I know, it is, it's happening to I mean, it's happening on almost every page.
Okay. I don't know.
And to me, it feels like it's trying to say something about, because like I noticed that a lot of the characters, specifically like the speedster characters, like there's in the speech bubbles, they'll talk and then there'll be like little words, like breaking it up. Like, and so to me, that's like them speaking, like they're talking and then throwing in something like a little quick, like, okay. And then, and so like, to me, that is like a visual reference to like, it's a way of visually displaying how quickly their brains process things.
Right.
And so
it's weird. I don't know.
I like it a lot. I think that going back to exactly what I said about the Green Lantern book, I think that it adds unique voices, and I think that it gives them like idiosyncrasies that kind of shows how their powers would affect them cognitively. But when I see that, and then I see the way that the pages are actually like laid out, it makes me think that the art is supposed to be representative of something narratively, and I just can't figure out what it is.
Like whether it's just for the aesthetic of it all, or whether
like
it actually represents. Maybe
is it just a stylistic choice? Is it giving us something like about their character? Is it giving us something about the nature of the Speed Force, their connection to it, anything like that? I don't know, but I like it.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know. This one's a weird one, but I mean, it's one of those.
But that's what I wanted. That is what I wanted from Cy Spurrier writing Flash, is something kind of weird.
Because Cy Spurrier wrote Way of X, right? Or Legion of X?
I don't know. I'm more familiar with like the DC stuff.
Okay. Because I think Cy Spurrier wrote the Nightcrawler centric title, Way of X.
I know that he wrote Black Bolt, and the guy who runs my comic shop will not read anything that he writes because he hated that Black Bolt run so much.
What's the Black Bolt run? Like Inhumans Black Bolt?
It was the Black Bolt series.
Oh, was it really bad? I never read it because I don't like the Inhumans.
I never read it either. I'm not that deep into Marvel. Yeah. But the dude who runs my comic shop, Jake, he was just like, I won't read anything this guy writes because I hated that Black Bolt run so much. And like, I'm like, dude, his Hellblazer was incredible. So
I didn't read that one. I think he likes to go heady because the character that he was using in Way of X was Legion, and Legion is so weird of a character.
He did a Legion run.
Oh, okay.
X-Men Legacy. Legion is the main character of that. That was during the Marvel Now period.
Yeah, I'm a fan, right, of X-Men. I'm a huge X-Men fan. I don't think Legion ever has to exist in canon. Like, I don't think that, like, if you were gonna do the X-Men in the MCU, you don't ever have to have Legion.
Yeah.
I don't think we need them. So all right, well, good on Cy, I guess, Flash is good. I just want to see how it ends,
Yeah. I'm really interested in it.
I wanna break down a couple of titles that you didn't read, and then feel free to ask questions because if this interests you. Did you know that Marvel's going through a gang war right now?
I've seen the gang war tie-ins. I haven't bought any of them. It's related to Spider-Man, right? Like that's the
It is Spider-Man centric just because Spider-Man's the biggest hero involved,
okay.
but it is street level heroes.
Yeah.
So
So
like,
I've seen a Moon Knight issue.
mm,
I've seen, like some of the other tie-ins, but
yeah.
I didn't pick them up.
There were 3 Gang War books that came out this week. Miles Morales Spider-Man number 14, which I love this run of Miles. It's written by Cody Ziegler, and he's had the best grasp on Miles for like. I mean, I think most Miles runs are really good. Like Saladin Ahmed's run previously was really good, but like Cody Ziegler's bringing something like new to the table, and the only time this series hiccups is when it's editorially mandated. Like when it's like, hey, you got to have like 3 issues where Carnage fights Miles because we got to tie it in with the Carnage thing that goes on. I am so tired of symbiotes, but that's just me. It's not my thing. But Gang War has all these like they're either they're like super villains or they're like the old school kind of mobster villains that Spider-Man has, like Hammerhead.
Right.
But Prowler, basically the premise of this is like Miles's Uncle Aaron puts back on the Prowler suit and is fighting against Miles, and Miles is like, I'm gonna take you down, and he's like, wait, there's a reason, but like I can't tell you, just trust me. And he's like, I'm not gonna trust you. He's like, but trust me. And then like it's this back and forth. And so that's Miles Morales Spider-Man 14. There's also Spider-Woman 2, which I can't tell whether it's its own series or just a Gang War miniseries.
Yeah.
But Spider-Woman 2 introduced the concept that like Jessica Drew had, like in a previous series she had a child, but the child's gone missing. And so, but then there's this unnamed new villain, unfaced or whatever, like you can't see his face. So then some people are like, is that going to be her child but grown up? Like, what is going on here? Why would they hyper age this another child? The series has been good, but also I hope it's not her child. Also, I don't know if you're reading Spider-Boy or you know what's going on with Spider-Boy. I'm saying it first.
Absolutely nothing.
I'm saying this first, and it's probably not going to end up this way. But right now, Spider-Boy has a mother that he cannot find. And Spider-Woman has a son that she cannot find. Marvel, why isn't that the same thing? Why aren't they? That would be so much better if Spider-Boy was Spider-Woman's son.
How do you know that isn't what's happening?
I mean, I would love, and that would be a really great move, because I think it would create synergy across the spider characters. But like right now, this unnamed metahuman bad guy has pheromone powers, which is Jessica Drew's thing, and it's like, okay, so is that her son grown up? What's going on? So I hope it's not the case, but I just think it's weird that there's a plot line in Marvel right now in Spider books. Spider-Boy's looking for his mom, who he cannot find, and Spider-Woman's looking for her son, she cannot find, but for some reason they're not looking for each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Spider-Woman Gang War. And then there's Deadly Hands of Kung Fu #1 Gang War. Again, can't tell whether it's a miniseries just for Gang War or an ongoing. And maybe Marvel doesn't even know.
Yeah.
Maybe Marvel is like, well, if it does good, we just continue it past Gang War. But it is Shang-Chi's new comic, because his comics just come out in spurts. And I don't know. It's cool. Nothing wrong with it. I like it. Shang-Chi is trying to run his he's running the villain organization, trying to make them good, essentially. Yeah. So the 10 Rings. So it is what it is. But you didn't read Titans Beast World #3.
I haven't read 1 or 2 yet either.
I mean, I'm not saying it's a must. I think Gang War I think is a better event.
Yeah.
Over at Marvel than Beast World at DC, because Beast World's just kind of a gimmick.
Yeah.
Let's just turn these characters into animals.
Right.
But they're not even animals. What's up?
Is that what it is?
Yeah. So
I didn't even realize that that's what it was. I just, I thought I've been enjoying the Titan stuff we've been getting, so I picked it up.
yeah, the premise is Waller is behind the scenes doing some bad stuff, but the premise of issue number 1 is that a bad guy unlocks what's known as the Necro Star, who is another star conqueror like Starro is.
Mm-hmm.
So then Necro Star comes out, and then Beast Boy turns into Starro, and they fight, but then Dr. Hate, which is like an evil version of Dr. Fate, comes in, messes things up, and then turns Beast Boy into like a mindless Starro. So then Beast Boy sends out his Starro spores to Earth. And when the Starro spores, instead of latching onto people's faces, they go down their throats, which is super gross. And then when it goes down their throats, people are turning into animal hybrids. So it doesn't happen to everybody, but it's happening to a lot. Like Black Adam is a lion. He's a lion Black Adam hybrid. Batman is a wolf. Damian, it was funny. Damian was like, I'm changing. And you see his eyes and his claws, and he's like, meow. Because he's a cat. And like, I think Nightwing is a dog. But it's been kind of gimmicky.
Yeah.
And then Power Girl is a phoenix. So that is not a real animal. So now people can turn into mythological creatures?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, that's fine. It's just nobody else has done that yet. But I don't know what's going on here. But that's Teen Titans Beast World number 3. It's weird. And then Titans number 6 is tying in with it a little bit, but still exploring the storylines that were before the crossover event.
Yeah.
So, which I think it's doing pretty well at juggling both of those. You read Green Arrow number 7.
Yes.
How did you feel about issues 1 through 6?
I thought they were fine. I remember being a little bit disappointed that it was like a cosmic kind of story, because I just don't think that works for Green Arrow. But at the same time, by about issue 2, I realized what they were doing is that they were doing the island story without the island. And it was a way of kind of getting new readers to know Green Arrow's origin without having to rehash it again.
You're saying that being shunted through time is the island?
Yeah, I mean, it was he was lost in time. He couldn't find his family. He was trying to get back, right? And learning lessons along the way, right? That's what happened on the island, right? So it was like, once I kind of saw that, I was like, okay, I get this, but I do want to see him get home and fight like corrupt businessmen and, like do the Green Arrow thing.
Right.
This issue in particular, I liked, there's like, the little, almost like a little montage of him going to each of the members of the Justice League and being like, hey, what happened? Why don't we exist anymore?
Yeah.
And all of them kind of giving their reasons. I thought that was really cool.
I like that part, and the fact that they talked about what's going on in the comics of those series.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't normally do that. Like comics in the, like, not normally, but like comics in the past have done it where like somebody will go around and be like, how can this person be talking to this person? This person's in jail right now. Or how can this person do this? This person is.
And then you kind of have to like,
when does this take place?
You kind of have to just like use your imagination and be like, oh, this must have taken place before that.
Right. Right. But they're all talking about, right? Like they're all like, Wonder Woman's talking about her series.
Yeah.
And
Superman's talking about like the Supercorp thing.
They mentioned that Batman's acting weird.
Yeah. Green Arrow's like, oh, he's acting funny. I should check that out, you know. Yeah.
I like this. This might be the first time in comics that somebody coming back from the dead does a full sweep of their world to be like, is this actually my world?
Yeah, I liked that too. I liked the, like him and Connor just being like, okay, so it's like 99% sure that we are where we're supposed to be.
Right.
There's still that 1% of doubt,
Well,
but
mostly that's because of Batman, right? Batman acting weird.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It could be for any number of reasons. But yeah, I thought it was cool. I liked that, it did kind of give you a here's what's going on in the rest of the DCU kind of thing. But I mean, what I mostly liked about that is not necessarily like the exposition of it, but just like him interacting with these people, and shows you a little bit just about their relationships, who they are, and stuff like that, which I really liked. I mean, it of course does always comes back to him and Hal, which is like, the quintessential, like, his buddy.
Yeah.
So
the hot take is I think Hal and Barry should have stayed dead.
I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a super hot take. I think a lot of people think that, but we're 10 years or more removed from that now.
Yeah,
so
from them coming back. Yeah.
Shoot, we're almost 20 years away from Jeff Johns taking over Green Lantern. It was like 2005.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Green Lantern Rebirth was first, then Flash Rebirth.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, this issue number 7 might as well be issue number 1. I was cool with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I also didn't like issue 6 where it was like, it was me, Merlin, all along.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, Merlin, you dummy. You big old time-traveling, arrow-shooting dummy.
Yeah.
What are you doing? That's your plan?
I think, it is... Green Arrow is one of those characters who always has a lot of potential, and I don't know that everybody always, like... I don't know that everybody like taps into that potential.
Yeah.
And for me, what I'm always looking for with Green Arrow is like a story with a very specific political message. And so when you do stories that don't have that, it's kind of just like, well, this could have been any character.
Right.
But
I need his family. I need more of the family, So that's what I'm looking forward to. Like, I like the idea that I would love to see the exploration of him and Connor teaming up as father and son. I know we've seen it before, but like, do it now. Like, let's see the DC through a father-son lens.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. I don't know. That's Green Arrow 7. Let's finish your ones. Did you like Action Comics Annual?
I did, yeah.
It ends what was set up in Action Comics, right?
It ends Philip Kennedy Johnson's run in general. He is, he's like his Superman story that began all the way back in the post Rebirth. I forgot what they called
post Rebirth.
The initiative that came after that, but it was after Death Metal.
Oh, was it Infinite Frontier?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I love Infinite Frontier, but yeah.
So it started right with, like, he took over during the Infinite Frontier era.
Yeah.
And he's been writing, he was writing Superman and Action at the same time for a while.
Yeah.
Now he's just on Action. And this is an end to that story. And I think it has been, it's one of the best Superman runs ever.
Did he do Warworld?
Yeah.
Okay. The Warworld, the whole Warworld saga was one of my favorite Superman stories of all time.
Yeah. I see this is an extension of that. Like, because the kids, are the kids that he brought back from Warworld. Right. And, like,
I haven't liked it so much, Action Comics specifically, in the past couple months. I didn't like this Shadow Sister Al Ghul plot line.
I there are parts of it that I didn't like, but there are parts of that I did like quite a bit. I mean, it's, you know how I am. I'm always about like, trying to connect this to the real world and stuff like that. And, like between this and Wonder Woman, we have very like superhero stories that are head on talking about issues of immigration.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's what was going on in the Superman in Action Comics.
Yeah.
And so like I really liked that part of it. It always has to end with "it was me all along," like kind of super villain plot.
Yeah.
But
I don't like Blue Earth being like, yeah, you're right. We were tricked, so I'll help you guys out. Blue Earth, they're a bunch of supremacists. So
well, I think that it wasn't so much Blue Earth, the organization, being like, "Oh, we'll help you out." It was more so like the people who did get kind of conned into it. It was normal people. And so like, to me, that's, trying to say like, if you, like if you let somebody like dupe you because of emotions, then you're susceptible to whatever they're trying to sell you,
Yeah.
And I think that's a message that's pretty important right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna have to go back and reread this one because it also had some backups too, right? Did this one have a backup? Because I had to binge this to catch up to this.
This one doesn't have the backups. Those
the other
all
one
finished.
did.
So this one is just a complete, the end of that Superman story, and it's capped off with the construction worker that Superman was having lunch with. Sitting down and talking with his son.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It's been long enough that like I forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, that was the conversation that they were having, because he was like he was a criminal that Superman put away.
Yeah.
And then the implication is that Superman helped him get like a straight job.
Yeah.
And, Superman sits down, has lunch with him, and he's asking him like, I got to talk to my kid, but like, I don't really know how to approach this.
Yeah.
And so then, now we're actually seeing him and his son talk specifically about his past and him being a criminal.
Yeah.
And him trying to like talk his son out of possibly going down the same path someday.
I love, and call me cheesy, but I love when writers finish their runs bookending what they started with.
Yeah, I think it's great.
It's cheesy though, right? But like cheesy in a good way.
I mean, it can be cheesy, but I also think that it's just like good storytelling.
Right. It's I mean, in school you're taught to write essays, right? Where you start off with your point and then you do the conclusion and you're supposed to tie it all together, which is kind of what writing is.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get a theme out there, if you're trying to get this, point across. Start off with the point, you end with the point, and everything in between are hopefully
is the links that connect it.
Yeah. But I liked it. I just can't get into I just couldn't get into Shadow Sister. So
yeah.
I want to know. Let's go real quick because I want to finish up your books and then I'll do like 5 seconds of my books. Tell me about Holy Roller #2.
Holy Roller. Have you read Holy Roller at all? Holy
Is it
Roller,
worth it?
As of right now, I'm saying yes.
Okay.
Holy Roller is the weirdest writing team.
Andy Samberg, Rick Remender, and
it's Rick Remender, then Andy Samberg, the actor from SNL, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Hot Rod, and I'm bringing that up because I think it's important. And then it's also co-written by Joe Troman, who is the guitarist of Fall Out Boy. Like, it is like 3 people who I would never think knew each other at all.
Yeah.
All working on a comic book.
Yeah.
And the premise of the book is that there's this guy, when he was growing up, his dad was like this champion bowler, like local celebrity. And he was trying to push the son to, also like go into bowling, and he just didn't want to. So he went away for a while, and then something happens that brings him home. And when he comes home, he realizes that like the entire town is super like anti-Semitic, like they're Nazis. And he ends up being confronted by one of them, like who was a dude he went to high school with. He gets confronted by them for being Jewish, and he beats him up with a bowling ball. And so when I first started reading it, like issue 1, I was reading it as like, yeah, it's kind of a silly concept, but like it's serious, right? And then midway through, like I really wasn't enjoying it. And then midway through, I was just like, oh, I got the tone of this all wrong. This is Hot Rod. Like it's a silly comedy. It's a goofy comedy that happens to deal with like some
real world stuff.
Some, pretty, I mean, it is a serious subject, but the tone of it is more like goofy, weird comedy. And then from there, I was on board.
Okay.
I'm a Rick Remender fan. I read everything that he puts out.
Okay.
I'm not a Fall Out Boy fan, so I have no.
I am, but I'm a Fall Out Boy fan. I've seen him in concert a couple times. I don't know anyone's names other than 2 guys.
Yeah. So yeah, Joe is the guitarist.
He's the one I don't know.
He and I only know his name because he and Pete Wentz and Andy Hurley, the drummer.
Okay, see, I don't know Andy Hurley either. Yeah.
They were all in an old like metalcore band together called Arma Angelus back in like they stopped doing that band so they could do Fall Out Boy.
Interesting. Okay.
And so that's like
okay.
They come from my world.
Yeah.
And so that's how I know who they are.
I only know Patrick Stump and Pete Wentz, but okay.
Yeah.
I mean the cover looks cool. And I'm posting up, like, there's the one cover, and there's another cover that I thought is really cool, where it's marking Chicago's map, but with a swastika in it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the variant cover that I'm looking
That's
at?
got to be the variant, yeah.
Oof, it's raw. But at the same time, yeah, I could see how maybe it's more tongue-in-cheek or satirical. Okay. And then last but not least for you, Detective Comics 1080.
Yeah.
I stopped reading Detective Comics. I can't right now. Like I just
this story is it is long and it's drawn out.
Is this the Orgums?
Yeah.
I gave up. I read issue 1 of the Orgum thing and then I was like, I can't.
It's still going on. I think it's cool, but it is definitely something that like it reads way better. It's going to read way better in trade. I had to eventually just like go back and start reading it from the beginning to kind of keep up with it. It's a cool story. I think that it is a little, it's grandiose. And we're in a part right now where it just kind of feels like it's filler.
It's just like, spinning its wheels.
Yeah, it feels like the plot points are going to come back and they're kind of like necessary to get there, but there's a lot of stuff just kind of padding it. Like this issue was mostly about like Batman is unconscious and it was about like some of his allies trying to transport his body. So like Jim Gordon, Selena Kyle, like they're and even Two-Face also plays a part in this because he's a big part of this story, like trying to get his body away from the bad guys essentially. Right. But there is a cool reveal at the end of this which involves a character I like a lot coming back.
Okay. Is it Azrael?
Azrael is in it in a panel, but it's not Azrael. Azrael's been back for a while.
I don't like Azrael.
Azrael's been back for a while, but no, it's not Azrael. It's a character who I really like. she has been present in the books, but she is kind of reverting to some old ways.
Is it Shiva? Lady Shiva?
No,
Oh, tell me who it is, and maybe it might strike up my interest to like read this book.
it's Renee Montoya as the Question.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Which, like, she's the commissioner of the GCPD right now,
Mm.
and she has been actively like fighting against, like the Bat family, and like, we don't do this with masks, all this stuff. And then the last page of this is her just being like, I'm recognizing now that there are things that masked people can do that I can't. So she puts that back on. I think it's a really cool moment because she's having like this inner monologue, and the captions change whenever she puts the mask on.
Yeah.
I like stuff like that. I think is cool.
Okay. Okay, maybe it's not enough to get me to come back, but I have a theory. I think that because I'm wondering to myself, Detective Comics is way better to me as a Bat Family team up book. And they did it like however many months ago with that whole like not Hotel Arkham, but what was it called? Arkham Tower or something?
Yeah, Arkham Tower, yeah.
And like it was a Bat Family team up book, and they stopped at a certain point. And right now, Batman is dealing with like going his way or the highway, very alone. They just had that event, the Gotham War, that's splitting his family apart. Problem is, most of his family doesn't have books anymore. Batgirl's ended back in June. Nightwing's the only person who has it. Robin doesn't have a book.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's the Batman and Robin book.
Right. There's Batman and Robin, but Damian doesn't have his own book, and Tim doesn't have his own book.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the Titans, like, Dick runs the Titans, so that's him staying away from the Bat family, in a way.
Right.
I think DC is purposely bearing the Bat family to revive them again.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh, cool. So it wasn't a crazy take then.
No, I think that's exactly what they've been doing for a while.
Yeah, because again, all those characters don't have books, but what's going on here? I think something's gonna happen, something big, hopefully in the direction that I want it to break, which is Batman becoming a family man.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
I think that will happen in the Batman title. But I think that the detective title is like removed from what's happening in the Batman, like all the Gotham War stuff. It's like a separate story. It must take place before all of this happened.
Yeah.
It's definitely not like parallel, but
right. So something's gonna break in some way. I'm just gonna read out some stuff and some thoughts about some of the other books, but really it wasn't much more than this. Predator versus Wolverine #4. It ends the miniseries of Predator versus Wolverine. In the end, read it or don't. It doesn't change Wolverine much, but it is cool if you like the character of Predator going up against Wolverine, and whether it's in continuity or not doesn't really matter because it doesn't change much. I don't know. It is just kind of cool, but that's it.
Yeah.
The Sensational She-Hulk #3. I loved Rainbow Rowell's previous run. This run is good too, but the question is, where is it going? I don't know. But the art is amazing, and the characterization is really good. So I'm still with it. The Timeless issue from this year, because it's one every year, and it's always Timeless #1, and they never do anything, and then a year later they release a new one. Has to do with like a future where Luke Cage is fighting against essentially Khonshu taking over the Earth, and it takes place in the future, and there's some twists and turns. And actually, this was closer to a pick of the week. Weirdly enough, like this almost was my pick of the week. But it's a standalone story. But who knows? Did I say Immortal X-Men #18 and X-Force 47? It's Fall of X era stuff. Immortal X-Men 18 ends with a big twist at the end, and a big reveal, which I think is really cool. And it's about, the Sinisters. So, and then that's I think that's pretty much it. I mean, X-Force 47 is bringing the band back together again. Because whatever's coming up with X-Men like soon, it's gonna change some things. Like the whole Krakoan era is supposed to end. So
Yeah.
which I don't like, because I think there are certain concepts that could have let more, like, breathed a little bit more, and certain concepts that they're rushing through. Like, I don't know. I don't know whether the Krakoan age needs to end, but it is what it is. That's pretty much it. That's all the books that we both read this week, right?
Think so?
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Drew. It's the final comic talk of 2023. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and Comic Talk's gonna be back
Saturday,
next week.
though.
We're doing best comic books of 2023 this Saturday, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, and we're gonna talk about everything that we want to talk about that came out this year. I'm gonna have to go back and like look at everything, because I'm like, what came out this year? What ended? You know? But I'm sure you're gonna have some good stuff to bring to the table.
I hope so.
We've been reading enough. We should both have.
I've read fewer comics this year than I have in the last 15.
Really? Were you just reading books when you come on Comic Talk?
I mean, no, I'm reading, I'm buying a lot of stuff, but then am I actually reading it? That's been an issue. And I mean, it's just, I don't know.
All right. Either way, I'm looking forward to talking about everything that we want to talk about that came out this week or this year. Before we get going, Drew, where can we find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
You can find me on pretty much all the social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Threads. I've been trying to use Threads more. All the same name, Drew X Deficit. Find me there. We've been having interesting discussion over on TikTok. Recently talked about which DC characters would be pro-union. Talked about how used some characters to be able to identify what makes a right-wing approach to justice versus a left-wing one.
I think it's about rehabilitation over punishment.
That's basically what we got to.
That's literally left-wing approach is rehabilitation, that bad people can become good or can get second chances, and the right wing is punishment. The whole point of jail is punishment, or the whole point of jail is rehabilitation. That is that's a good conversation to have.
And other than that, I'm just got my throw my opinions and my analyses out there. Nothing really major coming up at all. But Justice League Cosmic Chaos is still out in stores. I wrote the script for that, co-wrote the script for that, I should say. Had a cool moment the other day when a person was mad at me for my opinions on comics, said this guy doesn't know anything about comics, and then 2 posts before that was them playing that game being like, man, this game is good. And I was like, all right, I'll take that as a win.
Okay. That's funny. Thank you so much, Drew, so much for coming on the show, not only today but previously throughout this year, even further back. I'm looking forward to going over best comics of 2023 with you this weekend. For anyone out there who is watching us live, twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show, you're watching us there, or you're listening to the podcast wherever you get podcasts from: Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. If you're on social media, our 2 big ones are TikTok and Instagram at The Keeg Show, but we are, yes, on other social media, not just TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Threads I'm trying to do more of as well, at The Keeg Show or /The Keeg Show, pretty much either or. You can also go to patreon.com/The Keeg Show if you want to give back to The Keeg. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up, an introduction of a new monthly show that we're going to be introducing. Spread Thin is my middle name, in 2024 we're going to see that, because we also got Comic-Cons coming up. We also got the website, thekeegshow.com. You can find us there. Find more geek-related articles over there. That is pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. Oh, comicshoplocator.com. Find a comic shop near you. Support your local comic shop industry. Once again, I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been another episode of Comic Talk, this time for the week of December 28th, 2023. See you next year!